So this is the brand new Garmin D2 Mach 2 Pilot Smartwatch, and it's one of two brand new Pilot Smartwatches that Garmin have just released. I've made a separate video reviewing the D2 Air X15, so if you're more interested in the budget-friendly entry-level Pilot Smartwatch, then click on the link in the description down below. But today I'm just going to be focusing in this video on the new flagship Pilot Smartwatch from Garmin, the D2 Mach 2. Inside the box you'll find the manual, the warranty, the standard proprietary charging cable that comes with all Garmin smartwatches. And this watch has two strap options. It's got the silicone strap, which is the one that I've got attached to the watch now, but it also comes with this new brown leather strap as well. Additionally, if you did have the Mach 1 version, you can also use straps from the old D2 Mach 1 watch as well. So if you had the titanium bracelet, for example, that also fits onto this watch. Just make sure you've got the right watch size. There's the 47mm and the 51mm. And if you had straps on your old watch which you liked, but they don't come with the new one, they'll still work. Talking of the original D2 Mach 1 then, just to compare the two in terms of what's changed with the hardware, the buttons on either side of the watch are actually the same between the two. 3 buttons down the left-hand side, 2 on the right-hand side. But on the right-hand side of the new Mach 2, you can see this blue, they call it a sensor guard, which wasn't on the D2 Mach 1, and that actually protects the microphone and the barometer, and I think a couple of other sensors in there as well, because this watch has got voice capabilities and an internal microphone and speaker, which the D2 Mach 1 didn't have, and I'll come to those in a second. Setup of the D2 Mach 2 is exactly the same as setting up any other Garmin watch. You scan the QR code that comes up on the watch when you start it up, you then connect it to your Garmin Connect app and follow the prompts and go through the setup. And in terms of the hardware, well, it's a touchscreen, obviously. It's an AMOLED touchscreen using Gorilla Glass 3. But the first big increase in performance that I want to talk about between the Mach 1 version and the Mach 2 of the D2 watch is the battery life, because the battery life that you would get on the D2 Mach 1, the 47mm version at least, was slated at being as up to 11 days of continuous use. But they've actually managed to increase that now with the Mach 2, and the 47mm version will give you up to 14 days of battery life instead. Now, if you upgrade to the 51mm version, which I don't have my hands on yet, that actually has got a battery life, it's crazy this to think about it, but that's got a battery life of 26 days of continuous usage. Now, obviously, if you're using things like tracking, GPS, a lot of the mapping functionality, that probably will come down. But the base 47mm version, which this one is that I'm reviewing today, will still give you 2 weeks of usage before you have to recharge it. The next big improvement then between the D2 Mach 1 and the D2 Mach 2 is the software design and the interface itself. So if I pull up the main, what they call glances here on Garmin, which are all the features and functionality that you can use, you can see the difference in design between the two. You still scroll through them using the touchscreen, and you can see a little bit jerky on this one, on the original Mach 1, but the glances here just spin through. You can cycle through so much faster. And the design of these glances just seems a little bit more modernized, just a little bit more minimal. Actually, to be honest, I just prefer the design of the new version compared to what you had on the Mach 1 version. Logging activities as well, that's all been redesigned. So you can see when you tap on the activities button, you've now got these pinned items that stick to the top. So if you've got favorite activities, they'll always remain at the top. So for me, I've got things like running, flying. The other nice change that they have in the design is if I click on flying, for example, then normally on this screen what you'd have to do is you'd have to go into a separate menu system to get things like the specific settings for that activity. So if I wanted to do like a direct to or a navigate via the map, or if I was running and I was doing a certain workout, I'd have to go into a separate sub-menu for that. With the new software upgrade here on the D2, those all appear immediately below the activity itself, so you don't have to go searching for all these additional items. Now, there are a lot of similar features between the Mach 1 and the Mach 2, so things like Garmin Pay, the music features on here, safety features, tracking features. You're able to pair it with other devices like the InReach, for example, if you want to start and stop tracking directly using your watch. But there are a couple of features on the D2 Mach 2 now, which the D2 Mach 1 didn't have. And the first one of those is quite a cool one, which is there's a morning and an evening report. And it's just a summary of the activity that you've done for the day, but there's also a bit of a look at what the weather conditions are going to be like for tomorrow, and prompts from the watch. If you are training for something specific, say you've got a race coming up, the watch will help prompt you with what tomorrow's workout is going to be. It's just a nice summary of what to expect in the next day. And sleep coach advice, if I don't actually use that to be honest with you, but if you use the sleep coach on there as well, just some information about how many hours it thinks you should sleep. Another cool new thing I like with the exercise tracking is if I track a run, for example, and start that activity, Now at this point the screen is locked, and that's no different to the Mark 1. The screen does lock, so you can't accidentally touch the screen and change any of the settings, like if you're running, for example, and this bangs against the side of your body, you don't want to accidentally stop the watch. But you couldn't just quickly unlock it if you wanted to. But now with the new software design, you see this padlock up here, all I need to do is just drag that down, and now I can use the touchscreen functions on the watch if I do want to override that. Just discard that run. Don't want it affecting my stats. The aviation features on here are pretty similar to the aviation features you had on the Mark 1 as well. Again, they've been redesigned. One thing I did notice is that with the change, if I just show you the back here of the Mark 1, the change to the way that the pulse oximeter and heart rate sensor looks on the back. So you've got the Mark 1 here on the left, the Mark 2 here on the right. I don't know what they've done in terms of the hardware, but the pulse oximeter on the Mark 2 now seems to work every single time. And as you know, it was a bit of a bugbear of mine with previous versions of Garmin watches that the pulse oximeter was very good, very, very useful, don't get me wrong, and I've used it many, many times in flights before. But it wasn't always super reliable. Sometimes it took a couple of goes before it worked. But now, don't prove me wrong, watch. There we go. You can see it's worked, 97%, so it's worked first time. I've tested this quite a lot over the last couple of days that I've been using this watch, and it hasn't missed once. So as I said, these watches have got an inbuilt microphone and speaker, and one of the new features that uses that is the voice command feature. Set timer for 10 minutes. One other new feature of the software here then, which is unique to the D2 Mach II, this doesn't exist on the other new, the D2 X15, it is only on the Mark II, is this new glance at the top that you can see, personal minimums. If I go here into my minimums, you can see all the different options that you have that you can set. Unfortunately today is a really nice day out there, so I'm going to have to set, let's set a personal wind speed minimum of 1 knot. Just so I can show you as an example. Now, if I go back to my home screen, you can see the wind speed has actually been highlighted in orange. And anything that appears on your home screen that's below your personal minimums gets highlighted. So even just a glance at your watch will show you if certain parts of the weather conditions are above or below whatever you've set your personal minimums to be. And then the one other big hardware change between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 is the fact that now, into the Mark 2, Garmin have also included, yes, this watch has got an inbuilt torch. You can adjust the intensity of the torch itself, but you can also set it to red. You won't understand how useful it is having a light like this on your watch until you have a light like this on your watch, and I'm really glad that they've included it now as standard in the new D2 Mark II. Love it. Pricing wise, now I don't have an Australian price for this, so let me put up some US dollar prices on the screen so you can see to compare. The D2 Mark 1 is on the market on the Garmin website for $1,299 US. The D2 Mark 2, this version that I'm wearing now, the 47mm version, it's a slight increase in price, but I'm actually glad to see it's not a huge hike up in price, so $1,349 US. And then there's a bit more of a jump if you wanted to get the 51mm, which, as we explained before, has got like the larger screen, obviously, different strap options, much better battery life, and that one's $1,499 US. Who is it for? I honestly, and I've said this before about technology on this channel, if you are just learning to fly, if you're starting out and you have the choice between putting a $1,500 piece of technology on your wrist or spending money on flight training and fuel, no. I mean, it's an amazing piece of technology, but if you're learning to fly, this is not the time to be investing in a big bit of technology like that. If you're a seasoned private pilot, you know, someone who flies generally recreationally, and you already have the Mark 1, should you upgrade to the Mark 2? That's a trickier question. I think there is enough improvement in the Mark 2 to make the leap from 1 to 2, but this is still an excellent watch, and this will still do you well for a long time to come, I'm sure. So look, if you have the money and you want the newest technology, it's like a new iPhone when it comes out. If you want the latest iPhone, get the latest iPhone. But do you need to upgrade from 1 to 2? I don't think you do. If you don't have the Mark 1 and you are looking for a pilot smartwatch and you are a private pilot with the money to be able to spend on that as well as your flying activity, then to be honest, there's really nothing better. I haven't even gone into some of the navigation or the mapping features or the functionality that you can use on this watch, which integrates with what you do in the cockpit. And I probably will make a separate video on that when I actually take Echo Yankee Zulu flying with this watch on board as well. Then add on to that the fact that I can use this watch for flying. I can also use it for exercise. I can put a nice strap on it and I can use it when I'm going out in the evenings too. This is the only watch that you need to have on your wrist. But if you're interested in a more budget-friendly option, then this video here is all about the new D2 Air X15, a watch which is a lot cheaper than the D2 Mark II, but surprisingly actually still has a ton of features that you might not expect.